Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as Daywall, and back with another of the Blindsided Creations. This one was sent by Minutecraft, and the pattern is 16704. And hate is a very, very strong word. Let's just say maybe I dislike this one a lot. Even going into it, I was reluctant on the whole overall design of this bracelet itself, and as things progressed it didn't get much better. And I think one of the big problems with this is sometimes things can look really cool on paper or in the generator, but then when you get it into real life you realize like that's not really that great. And this one definitely falls into that category for sure. Now, we simplified it by reducing the number of blue strands in it and let them kind of zigzag and perform the pattern without all that extra stuff. So that definitely made it easier. And the base pattern itself is a little tedious, but it's not horrible. And one of the things about it being, you know, so repetitive the way that it is, it's hard to see where you are as you're making it, right? So I had to, every time I finished a row or finished an area, I had to cross off on the pattern what was already accomplished before like taking on more, because it's either that or you have to keep counting. Okay, we're 4 down, we're 5 down. That would be even worse as far as the tediousness. But that's what kind of happens with a pattern that there's no judging like, oh, these colors came together, so now I must be here and being able to continue on. No, it's just these 2 colors in a pattern that repeats itself a lot. But that's not the part that really made me dislike this. What I didn't like is the hole and the little cut-ins on the side. First off, I didn't want to have the strings going straight across these holes, because that's just something to get caught, you know, and makes it's easier to wear out or whatever, just a regular strand. So instead, I did it the way that you would start or stop a bracelet, where you take the second string, go over the first, the third string goes over those 2, right? But it's only 3 strings for this little diamond. So what you end up with is a very small buttonhole, at least for the ones in the middle, right? The ones on the outside, it barely does anything. There's a little bit of a curvature, but it looks more like a mistake was made than being a feature of a bracelet. If you want to have that curvature come in, it's got to be more strands. It's got to be, I would estimate a minimum of like 6 strings before you get a decent effect. Now, I've done the bracelets where it's like you make a diamond and then all the strings come in and then all the strings come back out again and you make another diamond. Those are particularly cool. Looking at it seems kind of amazing, right? This is not that. This is somebody trying something on paper that isn't particularly great in the real world. Like if you look at the hole in the middle of the bracelet already, right? Why is that special? When you put it on your wrist, hardly anybody's going to notice it. You might as well have just continued doing the pattern, which would have been easier. It doesn't make sense. This is a good learning experience for me. I did not know how this was going to turn out. I was kind of curious to see what would come of it. And then, yeah, my learning experience told me this wasn't worth doing. And I don't know what to say about that. It's also because there's so much zigzagging going on, it does look a little bit wavy. It's not bad, but it's particularly wavy where those cut-ins are. Like that part just drives me insane. But yeah. Oh, so all of the pinkish color, I have that going to the right wherever possible. There's times where it has to do a zigzag knot to shift the blue, but wherever possible, it's going to the right, which actually makes the back of the bracelet look particularly cool. Like there's certain rows kind of going on that kind of makes that look pretty neat. But I have to say that the overall look for this bracelet, there is nothing truly redeeming in my mind that makes this make any sense. I don't. It's definitely not great. It's 18 strings. The blue color definitely got used more than the pink, and I'm not really even sure how that happens, because it seems like the pink is sort of used the same, but at the end of it, the blue strands were kind of shorter. Still plenty of stuff to be able to braid up the thing. It took me 114 minutes, which is like an hour and like 44 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, so it definitely took a while, and that I partially attributed to the fact that every time I finished a segment, I had to cross it off. That definitely adds to how much time it takes to do it. Not much in the way of segment knotting either. One of the things I did notice that kind of worked out really well for me was the single row where the blue comes in and goes 2 and then a pink and then 2 and then a pink. Doing those individually and then do the next 2 rows together, because those are the pinks and the blue comes out the other direction. That seemed to help speed things up a little bit, but it's not a pattern that really lends itself well to any kind of trying to segment, you know, an area at all. It just doesn't. Yeah, this is the second buttonhole. So there's 3 buttonholes. One of the things I guess I did kind of come away with is the possibility of making a larger buttonhole would be kind of interesting to be able to use potentially on like a bag or like a notebook cover, like a tablet, that kind of stuff. The buttonholes could be kind of cool for that. Although I suspect if you keep pushing a button through a bracelet's hole like that, that there's every bit the possibility that it would wear out faster than the rest of everything. I don't know how quickly necessarily, but yeah, that might be kind of worth trying out, like just making a flap that goes over, like I have a tablet, and making something to cover it would be kind of interesting. Also, I was thinking about making a small bag for my phone. It would work for that, right? You could have the flap come over, anchor down somehow. Not that I necessarily want to do that for my phone. I think anything that makes it harder to get to it is just going to bother me. So I don't know. It's a possibility. Just something that now you have seen it. Maybe you can incorporate it into something. I don't know. But yeah. So like I said, this was a pretty long making it, so that's why it sped up an awful lot, was because I knew that there wasn't going to be a whole lot I could say about it other than like how much I really, really did not enjoy making this. Kind of is what it is. Trying to think anything else I really learned. I think that's about it. The colors themselves are really cool. It's a really bright, vibrant blue with this like plum purple that just makes it electric. It really, that part I was actually really pleased with. I think that's a lot of fun. It's not a lot of contrast, but when you look at it, it's really something. I am tempted in playing with the pattern in a smaller scale, maybe do a 12 string with the pattern without any holes and stuff in it, just to do it. I am definitely pondering that. I also really want to go back and do the 14 string bracelet. The more I keep thinking about how I didn't like the fact that there was tricky parts of getting the darker color to go through the pattern, I think that if I make it a 16 string bracelet instead of a 14, that all of that works itself out and suddenly it becomes a beginner's bracelet. And I really want to explore that one. So I think that's going to be maybe the next one. But I think there's a possibility of re-exploring this on a smaller one without the holes and just make it work out better. I think that might be interesting. Again, the only real problem with this pattern is it's really hard to tell how far along you are unless you're like, I have like the little push button counters. I could maybe use that, but I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the route to go or crossing off as I go along. I guess in some ways it wouldn't matter if I overshoot it, you know, just kind of go for the length and not worry about it. I guess that would be an option as well. But because I want to say the pattern itself, well, the pattern itself was bad from the start, right? Because they made it every other string was either of the two colors. And the way that they made the pattern work was that as those two strands come together, you can choose the one on the right or the one on the left. And depending on which one you choose, that's what that dot becomes. Which, if you use that, you can pretty much make anything as long as you can do it within the two colors. So if you want to put words in a bracelet, for example, that is a way to do it. It works out that you don't have to plot out, you know, some really complicated way of achieving it by just having the colors stagger like that. However, it means that every single knot is a zigzag because you have to put those colors back where they came from as you're progressing along, and it makes it really hard to kind of keep track of where you are, make it look nice and even. It's not a very pleasant make for the bracelet. So having reduced the number of blues down, make them kind of zigzags so that way they get to where they needed to be without overcomplicating it, definitely helped make this bracelet a lot easier than it would have been otherwise. So yeah, if you want, you know, like take a look at how I did the pattern, and yeah, I just suggest leaving the buttonholes out. Just go ahead and continue the pattern as is, because yeah, it's really, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to say I hate it, but man, I'm finding it really hard to like this one. Really, it's not great. But yeah, maybe you guys have a different experience. If you try it, let me know what you think. I can't imagine anybody after this review thinking, oh, I want to go do that for sure now. It just doesn't seem, yeah, I don't know. We are getting near the end. The third hole is there. Like, yeah, this is the final stretch. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you for letting me rant. And yeah, if you have any thoughts, ideas, Blindsided Creation suggestions, let me know. And as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.